everyone. Happy Tuesday and welcome to Viva Cafe con Leche. I am the badass Buddha, Lori Monaco, celebrating Halloween, getting dressed up a little bit. I am not the what was I last year? I'm always the whoopee cushion. I But good morning. It is a cloudy day, but I don't think it's supposed to rain. So wonderful for anybody who's going out trick or treating in those areas that there's no rain. But it is chilly this morning. So good morning, everyone.
Good morning, badass. Hola, mi gente, aquí con la Margarita, your gladiator guru. And it's been really nice and breezy here, and in Tampa, like in the mornings and in the evenings, you can actually feel like a cool wind. So
Ah,
that's always a good thing. And yeah, so it is kind of still dark here. And that's it. And what are you? What did you say you were?
not I don't know.
I like it. I love the mask. I
A
didn't have anything.
mysterious woman.
I love it. And
It's
me, I
it's
just put.
actually from the last Augusta, or not the
Oh
last
yes,
last
yes,
one, but
yes. The
the one that
masquerade
was
party we had,
the last one that was in
the
Connecticut.
gala.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I was trying to put a fedora on and put a. I was telling badass put paintbrushes in my fedora and just show up as an artist. But then like since I don't have no hair, the my fedoras come down here now. They're like real baggy. So I said I'll just be an artist, and I wore like some of my messed up art shirts that I created. Frida's lopsided. You see her? It's not my tits. It's the shirt. And
Was it purposely made that way, or was purposely?
no. It's one of those. I just tested it on a t-shirt that I had that lost its elasticity. So I couldn't get it straight. I thought it was straight. But this is Frida looking like what?
But you
Looking
could
like
sell
my
it.
ears.
You could sell it that way, and say it was purposely made that way.
Yeah, so
Good
the
morning,
flowers
Vicky.
are
Ghost is in
I
that.
like
Hey, Gail.
so yeah, so that's what I am today. I am pretending to be an artist, which I love. It is very comfort. Milagros, milagritos,
And Gail is in
milagro.
the house.
That name is so like beautiful. I have an aunt named Milagros, and it just means miracle. And I just think Milagros. Every time you say it, it rolls off the tongue. Pretty awesome. Evelyn,
Yep.
always here on
Madeline's in the
time.
house. Good morning, Leanne. Good morning, Kathy. Gail's in the
Madeline.
house. Gail, you know what's wild? I was thinking about you yesterday, and I said, "Oh my gosh, I gotta text Gail and just check in, see how she's doing, how she's feeling." And then I
Did you?
don't know what the heck happened. Then all of a sudden you're popping on now, and I'm going, "Oh my god, I never sent the text." I can't stand when that happens. It's so frustrating because like you're thinking of somebody, and then you get distracted with one little thing, and then that's that. So you were in my thoughts yesterday,
So
Gail. You
she
really
carried
were.
you with her yesterday, everywhere, Gail. So, mm, hope you're doing good. I hope all of you are doing good. We had a weekend. The weekend's pre-holiday or post-holiday. There's always chaos. Like we had a big shootout here in Ybor City, and
Really?
2 dead, 19 injured. Um,
Wow.
and one of the injured was a friend of ours, son. So injured by bullets. So just choose wisely. Discernment is such a word that people don't understand it and they fear it or they don't care to learn it. But it's really just choosing wisely. It's really judging wisely.
Yes.
When you go into anything you do with discernment, you're becoming aware of you know behind you and the sides of you before you're reading the room like right before you even step into it. Discernment is being aware of everything and then choosing wisely and judging wisely. And sometimes people just go with the flow, and it's not like it was in my day and or my daughter's day. My daughter's what, 37. So we have to choose wisely because shit's going down and it's ugly, and just keep your ass home and figure out a hobby or learn carpentry or do something that's going to like I wish I had the opportunity to learn carpentry at a young age instead of now. But yeah, so just be aware of everything around you. Today's what? Halloween. Tomorrow's Dia de los Santos. And it's like whatever you celebrate, enjoy it. And if you don't enjoy it, it's discernment. Stop following the masses. If you don't want to do this anymore, don't do it. If you want to do it, do it. But do it because you want to do it. And that's what we should have learned already in this lifetime. Go ahead,
Perfect
Anna.
segue into the title of the show. Wait, I don't think you even did that on purpose. What have I
No,
learned?
I didn't. It's
Like
just.
this is what we're culminating into, talking about what have we learned from
Mhm.
between January 1st of this year with the show. Well, not specifically about the show, but that was the focus of the show. And now, we've been reviewing things, and up in the coming, for the rest of the year, we're going to be talking about topics that, let me see, actually, what is our topic? We have a couple of little different change of plans that we're going to be doing, but nonetheless, we're going to be talking about reliving again the conversations of the second quarter, the possibilities, the beliefs, the behaviors and habits, and um, really believing, stepping in and understanding that whatever changes we want to make in our life it's up to us. It's entirely up to us. Things don't always go the way that you want them to go, but the because we can't control every scenario. The only thing that we can control is ourselves, and that's definitely what I have learned. And I've watched myself not control myself well because I've let outside sources control me. And that was probably my biggest take for this year, really stepping up and owning that piece of it and saying, okay, you know what, do I want to keep doing this, or do I want to really truly be in control of me? Knowing that I cannot control my outside, my situations. But the interesting thing is that the more you surrender and align with who you are meant to be and trust in the process, you do flow. There we go, Gail. You do flow into a direction, and things do get better for you, and they do seem to, like, it's almost like you bend your reality. You are able to create your reality. And there will always be players that come in. There will always be situations that come in that are unexpected. But knowing that you're a resilient individual and that you can shift and you can flow and you can move and make different choices, learn from the bad choices, the mistakes, or just learn from observing other people's bad choices and mistakes. It's That's the beauty of it, and that's where the discernment plays in, the awareness. And so that was the whole point of doing this review, is so that you could really take stock into where you are. I mean, we are entering the 11th month of the year, and you don't have to look at this year and go, well, I didn't get to do this, and I said I was going to do this, but I didn't do that. I was looking at my vision board, and there was a couple of things that I said that I wanted by the end of this year. You know what? I mean, it's possible. But I also looking at it like saying, okay, well, I let a lot of other things get in the way, but the big important things I did accomplish. And one of them was to move. One of them was to relocate and move, and I've done that. And so now it's more like saying, okay, I'm not going to wait till January to say the new year, new me. I'm going to say, I got 2 months left. What I'm looking at that, and I'm thinking about what I did not accomplish that I wanted to for 2023, and let me just go for it. Let me give it a try and see where I get by the end of the year, instead of just skating by these next 2 months and just letting fate take its course or destiny. I want to say, I'm gonna be further in charge of myself, further aware, accountable. I've used discernment, all those things that we talked about.
Well, and that's awesome. And I love that. That's how you know what it is? You said so much that really is something we need to practice. Stop looking into tomorrow and handle with what you have today. Yeah, new year, new me, and for those that statement works for, yay. And for those who know that it has never worked for them, then yay for the acknowledgement. But yeah, this is what we have. We're October 31st. We still got 30 days in November, and 31 days in December. Okay, so we have time to complete, to begin something and complete it there. Not everything takes 6 months to 12. Sometimes shit takes a month. Really, what are you doing? And I think, you said something about control, having control of a situation, and and in the end, when you look back at it after you got all flustered because it wasn't going the way you wanted it to go, wasn't happening in your time frame, the clock was ticking and people weren't, or shit wasn't getting done the way you wanted to control. Because at the end of the day, control is bullshit, right? It's what are you surrendering to? Sometimes, which is the biggest big vulnerability and surrender, are the biggest kryptonite for those of us who have lived up to shortly on survival mode. You don't surrender. There's no time to be vulnerable, because those are like really double-edged swords for us that are coming at us. And then when you do learn it, you realize that surrendering to what is happening in your now, that's your best control. That's how you control a situation, by learning it. And like me, that's always been so stuck on never really following the masses, doing what I got to do to get me to the next level. And you like it fine if you don't, go fuck yourself type of attitude. To surrender is still something that I don't like all the time. So I got to surrender my what the fuck type of moments, because when it's no longer in my hands and I have to wait until that happens with whoever has it, instead of getting all twisted up like a salty pretzel because I want to be in control of it. And that's where I've been, like the week before I came to Florida, hysterically in my head, hysterically, like, and then trying to this outer facade to be like, I got this. Oh, I'm not worried. And then I get here, and then that part was completed right before I got here. And then I get here, and it's a whole other song and dance that I didn't know the lyrics to and couldn't follow the beat. So I'm twisted up like a salty pretzel again. And then here I am, like a week and a half after, with this chest thing that doesn't come up, doesn't go down. It's just there saying tickle, tickle, cough, cough. So it's like, control what? Learn to flow with what's happening. That way you can have discernment to choose. Do you want to stay on the boat? Do you want to jump into the waters? I don't know. What are we doing? Or I'm going to go in this blindly in faith because I know there's something bigger than me. And if this is happening, it's supposed to happen. Either it's for me to be successful or me to be smarter. Okay? So there's a lesson, whether it's good or bad, there's a lesson. So what are you going to do? So control, I have come to realize I ain't control shit, not even my bowel movement, because when you got to go, right? So if you look at it as simple as that, then you realize, what am I always being angry for? Why am I always clocking somebody? They're not here when I expected them to be here. Why isn't this falling into place when I called and took care of A, B, C, D? All they had to do was bring it, boom, boom. And what are we doing? We're just flustering ourselves. We're maintaining this busyness about us that we're missing the beauty of life. Because what is being busy? Oh, I'm busy. I'm busy. Oh, I was too busy. I missed out on this because I was busy. And then if you break busy down, what is it? Each letter, being under Satan's yoke. And for those who get it, you get it. And those who are still like wondering, it's still taking you away from what you need to focus on. So next time you're complaining that you're busy, it's like the smoke screens when something's really going on in America, and then they want to put R. Kelly's court trial on to cover up someone else's court trial. Look at it. There's smoke screens.
Is he back in trial again?
No. This is, remember,
I was going to say, what do you do now?
Jeffrey Epstein, the chick who used to bring all the kids to the island.
Yes.
Her trial was going on, and then they put R. Kelly's trial, which was above hers and made the social media, everything, the news media, because he was a singer. And then R. Kelly got 30 years for something the industry knew he was doing forever. He liked younger girls. And then this chick that destroyed thousands of children's lives and has a black book with everybody's name who went to the island got 20. And then all of a sudden, we no longer talk about Maxine. So that's what I'm saying. So when that's happening in your life, because you're more important than any celebrity, you don't know. You only know their name. They don't know you. So when that's happening in your life, take a breath. It's your life, not mine, not the badass, not your husband's, your wife's. It's yours. Sit your ass down. So what have I learned? What have I learned? That now I feel chaotic. I feel like everything's falling around me. Nothing's going the way I wanted it. Just sit down and take a breath and say, what is it? Why is this happening? What am I not seeing? Because all the pieces of the puzzle are always in your lap. You just choose the brightest colors. You're not a blue jay. I love when the badass Buddha talks about that. So that's what we got to
Shiny
do.
things.
What is it that we're doing in our lives to ourselves that is causing chaos, that is causing confusion, that is setting us back, that is letting us believe, oh, I guess I'll start it in February after the holidays, instead of saying, okay, today's the end of the month. I have 2 full months before the end of the year. So the badass Buddha said right at the beginning, set the tone for today, because it is very imperative that you understand it's about my now, not my tomorrow.
Good morning, Catherine Marie. Good morning, Tiffany Brian. Yeah, it is. I mean, that's what I've learned. I learned that I was so frustrated and angry, and that has really diminished. Like I have not been frustrated and angry. I mean, listen, frustration comes, anger comes, it's natural. But when you're living in it day to day, it is a terrible, terrible distractor, and it serves no purpose. Unless frustration or anger drive you. That's the thing. And that's what I've learned is when you talk about Gladiator Guru, that emotions come to us to go through us. That's the beauty of it, is it's flowing, and you figure out how to use it to your advantage at that moment in time. Anger could be a real big driver. It could really push you to like take the action. So but to live in anger is very unproductive. To live in frustration, to live in resentment. I mean, resentment, that's a useless thing. but
Mhm.
but what I'm saying is that to look at it and to be able to step away from it and free yourself of it, it's a game changer, and it definitely helps you see clearer. Like it helps you see your path clearer, and then see that sometimes you're walking and there's actually three choices, and this time, before, where it only seemed to be one choice, but now there's three. But then it's not overwhelming that there's three choices. You're looking and you can see down and go, that looks interesting, that looks interesting. Or you know what, I don't think I'm going to go that way, that's not me. And you don't take the wrong path. So definitely, I mean, 2023 has been an amazing year for me as far as what I have learned. And the beauty is that I'm excited about 2024 to what else I'm going to learn. I'm excited about what I'm going to learn for the next 2 months. I'm excited about what I'm going to learn today, and then keep growing from that, because anything is possible when you have that focus, when you have that mentality. I mean, things that you never thought, like, for instance, I'll give you one of them. So my sister is going on a trek. My sister does treks. She's pretty cool with that. She's a big hiker. And she actually invited my middle daughter to go, the one that's going to be 20. So she'll be 20 in a couple of weeks. And she's going with her. And she's so excited about it. And I was happy that I was able to get her the necessary things to be able to have her go. Like, she could just literally go. So they're going in January, and I'm excited that she's doing that. I could see it in her face. This is something that um, she's become quite the traveler, my middle child. Like she's really into that stuff. And I think that's really important, especially for her, because she tends to stay in her room a lot. She doesn't really get out much, although she does more so here in the new place. Like we've actually had a lot of every day we have a conversation of some sort. Sometimes we'll sit down and have lunch together. We've all been eating dinner together, and it's been beautiful. And it's but that's opening up possibilities for her. Like moving opened up possibilities, which I figured it would. And that's the beauty of it. Is what I've learned is that my stagnation didn't just affect me, it affected so many other people. And I knew this, but yet I couldn't get out of my own way. I couldn't get out of that cycle and that circle, but then finally broke out of that cycle and circle and feel like anything is possible here. Like I'm actually excited to go back into practice, which is hilarious because for so many years I was like, nah, I just want to be a coach. I'd rather be a teacher. I don't really want to do wellness care and practice. But now I'm like, I want to do it all. Like I want it all to be part of my niche and do it all. And I'm excited to do it and meet people and hand out my business card. Good morning, Editha's in the house, and Desiree and
And
Tiffany.
Desiree. Um, Madeline says sometimes we don't want to see. And you're absolutely right. There's a lot of people who live in that middle uh, waiting room, that hallway, that it goes long on each side, right? Wherever you walk to, it just seems like it's still an even long length going back and forth. And it's gray. The lights aren't bright nor they are too dark. They're just gray. They're like blah. And that's how it makes you feel. When you choose not to see the truth in people, places, and things, right? Then you become this sensitive person who's easily triggered. Because it says it right there, when you refuse to see your truth in anything, I don't care, is it eating that extra piece of cheesecake or tiramisu, to an unhappy, unfaithful marriage, to whatever the hell, right? You are refusing to see. So then when that happens, you're living in this lie and you're blaming everyone around you. The badass Buddha, where her sister and her daughter going out, that's her lesson. See, they're doing what they've always done, as you heard her say when she said, my sister's going on a trek, but she's always been like that. Now she invited my daughter and she wants to go. She's looking forward because she's becoming quite, free. And how the badass Buddha is now learning that. See, and that's what have you learned? What she has learned. She and no one else has kept herself prisoner of her circumstances.
Oh yeah.
She created
Fair.
the scenario. You know how when they do true life story movies, but then they say they added this for dramatization. And that's what we do in our lives. We dramatize and we make the people that have knocked us on our ass, but then they walked away, so we were free to get up, but we decided to stay there. We make them the main characters in our story. And then we get angry. And every time we tell the story looking for this, but we end up feeling this, because then we realize how stupid we are, because we gave away our power, but yet we're speaking about how they made us a victim. And when you've learned that there's nobody in this world with 7 whatever billion people, like they say, there's nobody like you. Nobody shares your fingerprints. Nobody shares the melody of your heartbeat. Nobody can be identical to you unless the doppelgangers or whatever. But you are you with your ugliness, with your beautifulness, and with that in-between messiness. So why do we compare ourselves to others? Why do we become doormats for others? Why do we do anything? Why do we do anything to blame other people? So what have you learned with everything? Because let me tell you something. Whatever has happened in our lives, whatever is happening in our lives, it's happening on purpose. There's no mistakes. It is written. It is maktab. Everything we went through, whether we chose it or not, we fell into it, or the people we chose to be with brought us into that darkness. It happened on purpose. Why? Because we got to learn from it. We chose this asshole. Now this asshole's dragging us through the valley of, although I walked through the valley of darkness, we chose that person. So now we got to learn from what our choice was. People say, oh, well, why God let this happen? God doesn't let anything happen. It's free will. We choose to do what we do, but then
Yeah,
we want
absolutely.
somebody to
Absolutely.
blame, right? So everything's happening in purpose in order to forge us into the person we were meant to be since before birth. So don't be a victim of the pain and the scars and the abuse and the neglect and everything bullshit that has happened that has hurt us, because I'm along there. I'm in that pool of pain with you. But all of that happened to make you stronger. When people say, how can you tell your story and not be affected? Because it already happened, one.
Yeah.
And two, because I'm not what happened to me. I'm what I choose to become. Did I make poor choices? Yeah. Was I with someone longer than I needed to be? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Did I feel that he was my bad karma for hurting my previous husband? Yeah. So I chose my own karma. Like, how does that even work? And I was miserable for 5 years. But I'm saying, why was I with that guy? What did I learn? I learned, narcissists. I learned not to be selfish. I learned that if we're gonna do groceries collectively, and then you're gonna get mad because I opened the bag of chips that you chose for you. Guess what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna open every bag of chips, every cereal box that you bought, and I'm going to dump it in the garbage right in front of you. And then you're going to get upset and probably break something and leave. And I'm going to be fine with that. I'm going to sit down and watch TV. That's a true life story. That's what I did. And what happens is you learn and you grow. Pain and darkness and abuse and neglect and confusion is not supposed to make you feel stagnant. It's supposed to be for you to read the room. Okay, damn, I don't want to be like that. Or at least I have control. Maybe I'll try it. And then you're going to fail. But the thing is, it always goes back to you. If you do not forge into the person you're supposed to be after suffering or going through chaos and pain and turmoil, why are you here? Ask yourself, why am I here? What do I bring to the table? Because we
Can I?
all bring something to the table. But if you are failing to see your potential in your purpose, and all you want to do is complain and be a victim, then you're going to have your feelings hurt a lot, and you're going to be triggered a lot, and you're going to be, oh my God, nobody likes me. And you're going to be all that bullshit that you're creating in your little pea brain because you're not opening your heart. And, and it just, like, people get offended easily. Stop identifying as a yo-yo, having people push you back and forth, back and forth. Because if that's your life, in order for you to have a story to tell when you're meeting people and you're the victim in it, you know what? I'm the villain in everybody's story. And I'm okay with that, because what is that saying that says, I'll be a villain in your story because you're always going to be the clown in mine. Because when I speak, I speak my truth. When you speak, you're speaking lies. So it's, you gotta don't identify as a yo-yo. Be the river that flows. Be the river that flows forward. No matter how many rocks and boulders and branches are in the way, the river finds a way to maneuver around it, over it, below it, and keeps going on its path. Okay, so you can't.
Can we
There.
can
Go
we
ahead.
jump can I jump in and I just want to acknowledge some of the stuff that's been written. So Gail said, where is it? Gail said,
Hi, good
uh,
morning, Diana.
um, Gail said, emotions last no longer than 90 seconds. They are telling you something is off. When it lasts longer, you have changed the moment by attaching a story to the emotion. It took me so long to understand this and change. Leanne says, this was our journey in moving forward. Next year will be our enlightened year. This will be a peaceful growth that will take us to the next level.
Absolutely.
Idiotsa says, I can do all things through God that strengthen me. Desiree, I just really want to especially share. Desiree says, I got good news yesterday. Not amazing, but great. I have been in really terrible shoulder pain for months. I finally worked through my therapy stuff and got to the doctor. I don't need surgery. Thank you, Jesus. I have frozen shoulder. I will need therapy. It takes a long time to heal, but it is not surgery. I'm grateful today. I want to share cortisone shot and going on food plan that I used to take. I used before to take inflammation out of my body by choice because I know it helped. Absolutely, you don't have to sell me on that one. That's definitely what I sell. And frozen shoulder, you know what's interesting about frozen shoulder? I've had it. You have got to just do any of the exercises that they tell you to do in PT. You got to do them all the time at home, all the time, not just at PT. And you've got to walk that arm up the wall. Use your fingers to walk it. Your arms just got to be retrained to know that it's supposed to do that, because it's amazing how quickly you can lose movement in your arm. I was thinking that too. Okay, let's see. Desiree said, because you are through it and healed it, mostly healed, or mostly. I'm reading, I'm going to butcher this, Bhagavad Gita, and I am reminded that we are only a soul. This body is not real. This is a story, a play that we create.
When we create a play of all this bullshit, if we forget the balance, what's the balance of life? It's death. So it has to be like, what are you living in? Recently I thought that when I went into self-isolation that I healed those 4 months, and then I went back into work, and then I felt chaos around people. I felt like when there was two or three more people, that that sound like when you're around a lot of bumblebees or flies. And I
Yes.
felt that, and like their voices were annoying my spirit, like I couldn't get it. And so uh, uh, then I started, like, after in July when I went to Connecticut, I really didn't go out. I was like, let's do this. It's a Spanish thing. There's a fiesta here. And I didn't want to go nowhere because I didn't really want to be around people. And so when you got to respect who the hell you are, you got to respect that your spirit, when your spirit wants to stay home, sit your ass down. You don't got to Netflix and chill. You don't got to be munching on anything. Read a book. Talk to God. Go outside in nature. Dig your toes into the grass. Sometimes what Gail said is so true, and that's how we've been taught since we were little. We were raised on spirituality since we were very little. And you know what? People don't recognize that. They honor this body. You got to take care of your temple. But the thing is, you got to feed your spirit, and we don't do that. And then when we fall into the chaos, or we fall into the trappings of people's lies and bullshit, and then all of a sudden they're terrible people because they tricked us. But where were you? What was your role?
Yes. And
So
and
a lot of people like to say, and Iritza would tell you all the time, and she hasn't said it in a while, but she was one to always tell me, "You're so rude, you're so mean, you hurt my feelings, and why would you say that? And you're a prude and all that." And I was like, "Yeah, whatever. Why? Because I'm not like this." And I took it because I knew who the hell I was then and who I am now. So I tell people, you know what? Do not allow my confidence to offend your insecurities.
amen.
Do not allow my confidence. I can walk in a room by myself. I can walk into a restaurant by myself. I can go to a coffee shop and sit for hours by myself. I go to a bookstore, walk around, talk to myself as I'm reading labels and cracking up. I can do all that because I am the best company that I can keep. Whether I'm sitting down here writing, or I'm participating out there, or I'm driving by myself. I hold fucking sold out concerts at the Garden in my car. And so when you see me, people will judge. That's happened most of my life. I'm okay with it because, I don't feel like any kind of way saying they don't know better. So then I start talking, and then I'm like, oh, she thinks she knows everything. And I'm okay with whatever label is thrown at me because I know who I am. So when people see you, they get in their feelings. But you know what? My confidence should not offend your insecurities, because we all have a confidence level that we should walk in pride with. But when you allow people, places, and things to drown you out because you want to fit in, because you want to be liked, because you want to be accepted, don't come to me with your trigger bullshit, because I'm not the one. So what have you learned about yourself? Not about the world, not about your neighbors, not about your favorite star who doesn't give a shit about you. What have you learned about you? What can you tolerate? What boundaries will you build? What boundaries have you built in the past, and then you didn't realize your fencing was becoming weak, and people trickled in, and then you just accepted it? How are you going to clean house from today forward before tomorrow starts November 1st? What are you going to change in your life? That doesn't necessarily mean you got to be disrespectful to people, cut them off. What small step are you going to take from today, begin it tomorrow, for your life? Because no matter how huge or small a change you make for the better in your life, it's going to offend people around you. You could change the fucking lipstick color you're wearing. Oh, why you got that color on today? I never seen you in that color. You see?
You see me now.
That's what I mean. Try it. Just do something.
Never saw you. Well, you see me now.
I don't know. Put a different lipstick, and if you don't wear lipstick, put a blush on. Put a big cadena like I wear, like my big jewelry. If you normally don't wear it, and see how many people will notice that.
Listen,
They
and
won't notice
today,
your pain. They won't notice your discomfort. They won't notice any sorrow that you have. They won't notice your loneliness.
today's a good day for this too, because it's like you're given a day to dress up any way you want, and you'll have an excuse. Like I've been literally walking, like going to stores here, and people are actually wearing their costumes to the stores. It's the funniest thing. I was at the grocery store, and there was a mom and her two kids shopping. They were all in costumes. And it
Oh,
and it's but we're not saying you have to wear a costume. It's just like, use that. If that's the case, then put some blue lipstick on today and go out into the world. And then if anybody says anything, say, what? I can't wear blue lipstick. And if you want, say, well, it's Halloween, but then you could wear it like a week later and say, I really like the way it looked on me, or whatever. You don't need an excuse.
you don't.
But the one thing I gotta say is that when Gladiator was talking about feeding your spirit, and then Madeline had said that earlier in the comments. It's all about never lying to yourself, your truth, walking and living your truth, because that's what affects your spirit. When you lie to yourself and you believe your own bullshit, because that's what's definitely coming up. I mean, it says that we wrap around that story and we keep it. Madeline wrote that as well. We want to hear this. Is what she put. We want to hear the lies. The lies are easier to swallow because they feed the narrative of what we want rather than what is actually happening. Hell yeah. And that I knew this myself, but that was my biggest take, especially this year. It was really making me so uncomfortable that I finally had to make a choice and to say, okay, I'm so tired of this narrative, which is not what I signed up for, but I decided to become part of this play. And I let myself become part of this play, and I don't want to do that anymore. And it affects your spirit. It eats at you. And you could just live your lies for the rest of your life, and it will affect you. It'll affect you emotionally, it'll affect you mentally, it'll affect you physically, it'll affect the way your body functions. It may affect you like one of those things, but it could affect multiple things, like I really am convinced, like, my dad developed dementia because he just was not true to his real self. Like he was bullied and allowed himself to be bullied into playing small and not speaking out loud, and he used to come up with some brilliant ideas, and he was always an inventor. And then isn't the irony that he lost his memory because he didn't have the ability to create anymore. He didn't have the ability to think and try to figure things out, and he lost that. And he just became very simple in his thought process. So I mean, it's never too late for us to turn our lives around. It's never too late for us to reverse things, reverse our health, reverse our mental state. I mean, just changing your diet alone can actually make your mind clearer.
Clearer,
you
yeah.
know? So it's like, so that's the thing is, like, really, if you still are on that cusp of just sort of sitting there and feeling like I'm not happy with my life, but I'm just living day to day, really give it the thought this week into Sunday and say, I really got to sit with myself. I really got to sit here and do it now today, because tomorrow is going to be this.
Tomorrow's a new day.
It's the path to insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different outcome. And we do that. We say, oh, tomorrow's going to be better. What did you do today that was different that's going to make tomorrow better? You're just going to walk out and then all of a sudden, like, somebody's going to be standing there with the big check, say, oh, by the way, this was kind of sitting here and we thought you'd have it. I mean, it's just like that joke. I'm gonna be politically incorrect. The blonde joke. The blonde woman is praying to God and she says, God, please, I'm really in financial, having financial problems. I need to win the lottery. Please let me win the lottery. Next day comes, she doesn't win the lottery. That night she goes, says, God, please, I don't know if you heard me last night, but I really need to win the lottery. I need money. I'm really not doing well financially. Next day comes, she doesn't win the lottery. Prays again. She says, okay, God, I don't understand. I'm a good person. I don't understand why you're not letting me win the lottery. I need the money. And all of a sudden, this voice comes down and God says, my dear, sweet, beautiful child, you need to buy a ticket. And that is what happens is we don't buy the ticket. We do not take the actions necessary to change our lives for the better. And then we act surprised when it happens. We're like, whoa, how come this didn't change? Because you didn't do anything. And that was my reality over the last 3 years. And I thought that if I just change a little bit, it's going to create a much bigger change. And what I learned was that's not working. I had to make a bolder change to make to make the other things change. And that's for me was to move, was to just move and redirect myself, clear my head.
Well, we have gone through different situations, but we've come out it similarly where we ended up choosing ourselves. And I think that goes for the majority of us women on here. Some of us, don't blame yourself if you learned it late in life. I can't look at people like, what the hell, it took you so long to get here. You should have figured that out, X amount of years ago. Because I was that person. Like, what the hell? Wake up. What are you doing? And I had to realize that when I what's the word I want to choose? When I accepted, when I realized the gift of insight that I received at 6 years old is not the gift that everybody received at my age. But because no one got me in my family, no one got me. Like, I was the black sheep forever, right? Which I honor that time. And follow the masses since a young age. But even with my kids, like when they do something, even now, I look at them like, how the hell you're my kid? You should have got this. And that's one thing I'm still working on. Like, what the hell? Like, my kids are 37 and 33, and I still expect them to have been more like me because I raised them. Because when I had to go and knock on somebody's door with my aluminum bat, they were there with me. When I had to walk in somewhere and tell somebody, listen, what's going on? Let's clear the air right here. They were with me. So when I see them behaving in a certain way, I'm like, why the hell they're acting like that? They should know how to handle the situation head on. And then I've had to take a step back from myself. But that's just a learning process. I've come a long way. And if you know me from back in the day, you know that you're sometimes saying like, wow, that's not Margie. She's cloned, whatever the hell. But what I'm saying is, there's always time for change. And it's not your fault what happened. What's your fault is that you still keep reliving it as though it just happened.
Yes.
It's your fault.
Yep.
That's not the person who cheated on you. That's not the parent who abandoned you. That's not the siblings who bullied you. No, it's you. Whatever happened in 1999, keep it the fuck there. Use it as a point where, you know what? I too suffered blah, blah, blah in 99. But, or yet, this is what I learned from it. This is what I bring to the table today. If you're going to still tell me how wounded you were, how abused you were, how affected you are, that is still what's my favorite word, triggering you today, or you can't trust men today because of what one did to you yesterday. That's bullshit. You're not using discernment. How can you impose that negative male version of what you experience on me? I'm pretending to be a man. So you can't do that. I can't do that. I cannot do that. So the choices are what? So if you must blame anyone, and this is for anybody listening, if you come in a day and you get angry because you tripped and you fell, and then you looked under the bed and there's somebody's sock that you, whatever, that reminded you of somebody back in the day, and you want to blame somebody for leaving something there for you to trip, what the hell? You didn't look where you were going. Everything comes back to you. And a lot of people don't want to be responsible. They don't want to be the blame for their pain. Okay? So if you must blame somebody, stop. Look in the mirror. Okay? Because it's you. Blame yourself. One, for carrying bullshit garbage from X amount of years ago. Two, what about that person was so special that they're still haunting you in your today? You should abandon them the way they abandoned you back in the day. I'm speaking from experience of a person who never knew what a mother's warm embrace was. My mother was presently absent my entire life. But you know what? I don't become my mother. So what are you bringing? What are you learning today? The only thing you got to learn today is that starting tomorrow, you just got to do something. One, even if we ask you to learn to do one thing different.
Yep, one thing differently.
And be aware, read the room, listen to the chatter. How many people are going to notice that? One, maybe it could be insignificant. It could be that you always wore stud earrings and now you're going to pop out like slut magic and wear big hoops. Or you're going to be a little more subtle. Or, it could be anything. Like she said about her mom and her kids in Walmart. I think that's beautiful, the participation in life. But, I go out, people think I'm dressed up and saying, because I be wearing my diamonds. My now 3-year-old granddaughter, whenever now I'm in Connecticut and she comes over, she'll point, she's like, diamond, because she won't see me with it on. So we go and we put diamonds on. Mateo here, he'll find one of them and he'll put it on. And he's like, look, I'm Margie. And and I think that's beautiful because I'm teaching them in my free spirited self. I'm teaching them that it's okay for them to be them. Because you know what? I don't like people who follow the rules. I've never been a rule. Somebody who follows the rule. I don't like authoritarian over me. Ask me to do something, bitch, don't tell me. And Margie, I'm your boss. Well, then, that sort of thing. So it's okay to be who you are. And like a puzzle piece, your ass ain't going to fit everywhere on everybody's table because you belong to your box. So when you find your piece is spread out somewhere and people look a little frazzled, like, who are they? Those are your people. Those are the people that are not going to judge you. Those are the people that are going to accept your flaws and your flowers. Okay? And it's always the least expected scenario. We all want everything to be put into shape. We want people who speak proper. We want to be drawn to them. No, be drawn to your twin spirits because that's what matters. And if you can't find your people because you're too busy judging people by how they look on the outside, make sure to look in the mirror.
Yeah, that's the biggest take. It's a distraction, and I was reminded about that this year. I mean, I knew that. So for me to say, what have I learned? I knew that already, but it was a reminder because I was doing that. I was paying so much more attention to other people and using and taking away from what really needed to be paid attention to because I didn't want to face it. And I was afraid, to be able to relocate and take that responsibility on, because it wasn't just me relocating, it was me and my 2 children. And there was a lot that was going to change. So it's like, but knowing, the funny part was I knew that it would be the best thing, but knowing it and then doing it can be two very different things. But when you finally do it, um, and here's the thing, I think this is where we always get in our own way. It's because we always think that, well, what if I do that and it doesn't work? Then it doesn't work.
What if?
And then you just you go a different direction. You just say, okay, I mean, that's the beauty is when you know you always have a choice. When we know we always have a choice with anything that we do, even if it's something simple, we have no problem doing it. Like truly, like if we say today's Saturday and we're gonna go to the we're gonna go pumpkin picking or whatever, or do some really fall New Englandy stuff, but it's raining out today. Oh God, it's raining, so we can't go outside. Well, that's your choice. You could, redirect. You want to go somewhere else, or do you just say, let's have the best day ever with our umbrellas and who the hell cares? And we're just going to do it. We're going to make the best of it. For my daughter's wedding, it poured, and her wedding was in a barn, and the toilets were outside. It was one of those those really fancy porta potties. But we had to walk.
There's fancy porta potties.
There's fancy porta potties. Yeah, they look
Like,
like
how do they look inside? Like a regular porta potty, but they're decorated different outside.
Yes, no, they look like bathrooms. They look like
that's awesome.
Yeah. But anyway, what are we going to do? Cancel the way? You can't do that. We made the best of it, and everybody had a great time. And by the end of the night, who the hell cared if your dress was dragging in the grass and you were getting wet? Nobody cared. And that's the beauty of it is we could have looked at that. She could have looked at that and said, oh my God, this is awful. And the irony is that the rain really didn't start until the actual reception. She was there earlier taking pictures, and it was a beautiful day. So that to me was the miracle. The miracle was that the rain held out so that she could take beautiful pictures with her soon-to-be husband, that she could take pictures with the wedding party, and then the rain started at the reception time, and who the hell cares? We were all inside partying anyway. And who cared if you had to go outside? You make the best of it. And I think that's where we get in our own way. We want to control our situation. We want, I don't really want it to be this way. So if it is, so what if it is?
Mm-hmm.
We are all built to be incredibly resilient. We are all built to be able to adapt. We wouldn't have survived all these hundreds and thousands of years if we weren't able to adapt. I mean, like that. And we don't give ourselves enough credit because we want, like Madeline and everybody else was saying, we want the narrative to play out in this way. And if it's not going in that direction, we need it to go into that. We want to push it into that direction. We're trying to put a round peg into a square hole. And sometimes you just have to step back, go into a different direction, and either find the round hole or find the tools that will eventually help you get it into that peg. If you still want to be in that peg, the point is that you have the choice. But we sit and we wait, and the next thing you know, my realization came 7 years ago. 7 years ago. It took me this long to get out of all of that. I mean, I did an amazing amount of growth after that depressive episode ended. I did an amazing amount of growth for 3 years. But then all of a sudden I just sort of stagnated, actually 4 years, but I just sort of stagnated. And then that was that. It was minimal growth for the last 3 years. And I look back and I could sit there and say, God, what if I had just did what I was supposed to do 7 years ago? My life would have been completely different. It would have, but might not.
But it's not supposed to. You went through that.
I am right where I'm supposed to be.
Because you needed to learn more. You still didn't understand who you were.
Oh, of course.
You didn't acknowledge your courage. You didn't acknowledge your strength. You were still needy. You were still wanting, what's that word? To know that you deserve to exist. When we don't, and then we get mad when somebody would have told us that. But the thing is, when you haven't learned and you're still in there, I'm telling you that it was 7-year relationship, but after 2 years, I know I couldn't stand him, but I stood an extra 5 years. And So when you have, and I was thinking a lot about that recently as I've been writing, and I was like, what the fuck? And then I had to sit with myself. And the thing is, if I can tell you or anything that is fact, never say never, because then you're gonna never like you nevered before. Okay? Never say I will never. I can never. Oh, that shit will never happen to me. And that's where I was. And then this never that I never ever happened before happened, and I was like, what the hell? And I had to stay there 5 years, because it's not like I could have left, but I learned never to say never, first of all. But you learn because, and there's nothing ugly in that, and there's nothing stupid in that, and there's nothing weak in you staying longer than you thought you had to, because really your destiny, your purpose is like until you show up, until you catch up with yourself, you're never going to learn the lesson, right? Because your body wants to keep going, but your heart and your mind is over there always in a war together. You're not feeding your spirit, so it is very malnourished, so it can't even feed you any logic, any understanding, and then you're stuck. But don't blame yourself. Don't ridicule yourself. Don't bully your yesterday self, because today you know better. That's why you feel like you can, oh, I can't believe I went through that. You're smarter now.
That's right.
You're awakened now.
Yes.
So how dare you bully you in your yesterday when you didn't have that strength, when you didn't feel that courage. But what you did do was absorb the knowledge that was being fed to you, whether you wanted it or not. That was put in through a motherfucking IV. Don't deny it. And then that's how you can really truly love yourself, because you know what? It's like sometimes vulnerability has allowed for fear to set in. If you don't control what part of vulnerability is going to take more action. So you got to trust. I don't care what you believe in me. I trust in God, my higher power. And I know that if I don't understand, I'm going to say, Father God, please help me. This is what's going on. I don't understand, and I don't want to over dramatize it like I could. That's my conversations with him. And then what I learned the hard way years ago is once I give it to him, I can't take a nap or go out and come back and be like, oh my God, I'm worried about this, and take it back. Because that's where you get all twisted up like a salty pretzel. And so what do? Just learn who you are. You know who Cardi B is, who this is. We all felt bad for Matthew Perry because I did
We all learn everybody else and we don't learn us. That's a good point.
Exactly. So you want to mourn and feel bad that Matthew Perry died, which is sad, but it is life. It's life acts death. Why do people love me and hate you? And death replied, because you are a beautiful lie and I am the painful truth. And death can mean the death of the old person that you grew accustomed to being, which translates into someone's doormat, just so you could be accepted. You know what? Demand people to accept you, who you are, where you're at. If you know that you are using discernment, you're not here to hurt anybody or abuse anybody. You just want your spirit to be and flow as she was born to. Stop letting people put you in a straitjacket because you laugh too loud, or you curse too much, or you have too many tattoos. And fuck it, they're not your people.
That's right. That's right.
Stop being twisted with it. I wanted, Madeline says something, but I wanted to put up my goddesssavvy.com, my blog, excuse me, badass, because in there I have the 5 pillars of peace, which speak about feeding your spirit. I changed it up some. I created this article like a year and a half, 2 years ago, and then I didn't know what to do with it. And then, Fiverr is magical. And I had somebody on Fiverr look at it, and she did change some of the stuff, not all of it, but then I rechanged it back to my conversations. So it's pretty cool. Look it up. It's a really great article. It's very simple. And it just talks about feeding your spirit, nurturing your ego. Don't kill it. Don't ignore it. It's just hungry. It's hungry for your truth. and who you are, not who you want to be, who you want people to think you are. And so that's it. Gotasavvy.blog. I think it's pretty cool. How do you take it off, badass? Hold on.
Oh, you just go back to
I got
banners
it.
and
Yeah.
take it. I want to
So
mention something, if I can,
go
please,
ahead.
that with regards to when you feed your spirit and you are very clear on who you are and what it is that you want and what it is that you learn. Something that Desiree said. Let me pull it up. Where is it? I had it a moment ago. Um, she wrote that she's okay. This is what she said, and this is a very powerful. I've been fighting that all my life. When you fight for something, and I know I can totally speak from personal experience. The more you fight for something, the more resistance you meet, and it took me a long time to figure that one out. Like the more I fought it, the more I fought for myself, the more I tried to get people to under. When I just finally accepted and said, "This is who I am. This is who I want to hang out with. These are the people that I want to be around. These are who I don't," and I just let it go, and it just flowed, and it reminds me of that fable. Remember the fable with the sun and the wind, and they're arguing how, like, who's more powerful and who can get the person to take their coat off, and there's a man walking with a coat on, and the wind says, "I'm real powerful. I can make him take his coat off," and starts blowing really hard and blowing really hard, and the man just grabbed his coat harder and harder and just held on to the coat. And then the wind stopped, and the sun just comes out and shines its bright light, and the man just sat there and started to get hot, and he just took off his coat and just let the sunbeams hit him. And it's letting go. It's such a powerful fable because it's talking about when stuff is coming at you. It's not saying that we shouldn't fight for things. It's saying that we fight too much. We're always fighting for this, we're always fighting for that. And when somebody comes at me like that, the first thing I want to do is block it. The first thing I want to do is resist it and push them away and fight back. And I don't want to be a fighter anymore. I don't want to have to explain myself. That's what I learned this year, especially. I don't want, if I have to explain myself and fight for who I am, then I don't want to be around you. And I am not going to waste my time or energy fighting for that anymore. I fought for it for years ago, and that's part of the process. I had to, because I had to remind myself what I wanted to be, and I also had to retrain people. But what I learned this year was I just let that go and said, "You're either going to get me or you're not." And the same goes for me with regards to other people. I don't have to like your choices. I don't have to be around you, but I'm not going to try to convince you that I know better. I'm not going to try to convince you that I'm smarter. I'm not going to try to convince you that I know what I'm talking about. It's more of, listen, I get you. You do you. I do me. Don't step on my stuff. I won't step on yours. But I'm going to stay very steadfast and truthful about who I am and let
Without
people do
judgment.
their thing without judgment. Exactly.
Without judgment. Because a lot of people they jump the fence, and then they feel like they're on their high horse looking down. Well, look at, I did it. I used to be called and accused of being, like I said, a lot of things, because I just didn't get it. I just didn't get why people would just stay rolling on the floor. Like, we all had a first love, but did we die? Like, why do you stay with somebody who's abusive because he was your first love? And I didn't get it. And was my approach a little vigilante? Yeah. I was in your face, like, what the fuck? Wake up. You don't need to be here. Get up, pack your bags, let's go. Because I couldn't get it. Couldn't get how people could stay stuck in something. And then I had to soften my heart and realize maybe that I didn't have support. So when people, like, I lived in an environment where I had no support. I had no support. Yet I had support because I had that insight. I had that gift of just knowing. And you know what? Times were hard. Moments were hard. Seasons were hard. But I did not succumb to what they were, how they were, or that I was a victim. So I had to be used in order to reach this age, this beautiful age of going on 55 now in November, to realize that everybody has a process on how they deal with things. So what I'm saying, if you're learning today to find your truth, walk in your truth, to organize, to eliminate all the bullshit out of your life, because let's keep it real, do it with discernment. Don't judge people who are not where you are heading. All you can do is say, well, this is how I did it. Don't judge people who are already there and you're claiming they think they're all that because they're already there, or they got
Right.
there, or they never went through what I went through. Who gives a
Right.
shit? I don't have to go through what you went through to understand that life is beautiful and it's short. So the badass Buddha has a way with her voice. She has a soft voice, and I love it. And you know what? I try it. It's just not for me. What I'm saying is, she'll tell you blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to say, get the fuck up, put your panties on, let's go. Because why? Life is short. The story about the wind and the sun, always been my favorite. But because I have a darker side to me, I love the one that says, and the rain
What
said to
happened?
the wind, you push and I'll pelt. Because you see, you got to connect this with your heart so that your spirit can dance. Your spirit can be the only one overexhausted working on everything. Okay? If in order for the rain to pelt a certain direction, the wind has to be involved. In order for the man to feel comfortable to remove some clothing, then the sun has to calm the wind down. But it's still a dynamic duo in your life. It's the balance of, should I do this right for me, or should I just fall on my knees like an idiot and just follow the crowd? It's really your choice. Everything you've been through in life thus far has been your choice, because the first time somebody showed you their ugly face, you should have laughed, right?
That's right. Yep.
But
You
you
should
allowed it the
know what
second
I'm
time
letting
and the
you.
third time because you can fix them, or they'll change, or it's because I love them. You know what? You needed to go through that. We all needed to go through that. And that's why I brought up the thing of 5 years of being in a 7-year relationship where I was like, what the fuck? And it was disgusting to me. But you know what? It all happened as it should have happened. Because that person I chose to stay with for 5 years is the one that, when my dad died in 2007 and I left Florida and stood in Connecticut with my sister for months just to get away from him, he started passing out my resumes here in Florida to get me to come back. And I hated him for it. But the one job I did go to that called me 2 days before Christmas, 2007, I'm in Connecticut. I'm like, I can't interview with you. I'm in Connecticut. He's like, oh, no, no. Come on the 4th after New Year's. I said, okay, I'll be there then. And that was the job. I started in January 2008. And in June, I met my husband, my deceased husband. So his role in my life was to lead me to the next chapter of my life, because I would have never applied for that job. And then the assignment that God gave me was to take care of this paralyzed man when he got ALS, a week, 2 weeks shy of our first year wedding anniversary. So go back, understand your history so that you'll know how to live going forward. What role did you play? Why did this have to happen to me? And then you're going to find that it was all to help you build a more stronger, solid foundation for you. You're not the victim in anybody's story. Please don't be it in your own. And that's how you learn who the hell you are with everything you went through, all those scars, all those wounds that you continue to pull the healed scab off just to see if it's going to bleed again. It all comes back to you. What role are you playing in the one life that you have? And I needed to hear this today. And I'm sorry, I got to read these comments because I haven't. But Desiree wrote something, and I read it briefly, badass. And she was talking about the show.
Yeah, both Madeline and she were talking about the show. Yes.
And it's like, thank you. Because you know what? We do this out of the kindness of our hearts because we have a story to tell that we're supposed to reach people who, I don't know, how many, I don't know. But God gets me up every morning. I barely slept last night with this coughing and my neck being all stiff, but I was up. And I said, you know what? Why do we do this? Because this is why we do it. Because the badass has children, smaller children. She has stories. Right now, she's in the midst of a huge transition in her life, and she's telling you the story with a smile. fear's in there because anything you do different has fear. Am I wrong, badass? Everything. The fear of fitting in, of learning the place within a decent amount of time so that you can navigate without being in the sharp, wavy waters. Okay, but then we might have to be in that rickety boat. We don't know. What we know is we're not going to give up. So she needs to share her story because many of you are going through changes, and they might not be as drastic as moving out of state. It might be moving across town, but it's still the same scenario where it's change, and you got to pack up, and you got to move, and you got to unpack, and you got to see if everything's going to fit. That's her story. That's what she needs to bring to you guys. So what she says, I can just say how annoying it is that I have told all my friends and family about this show, and as much as I'm here, not a single person I know comes on, and every single time I am interrupted and reminded that I am on a show, once again, give them the name of it. Ugh, thank God for this tribe, because aside from you guys, I have my therapist. Thank you. Thank you. And Madeline has always inspired my truth. You know what? Write your book, Madeline. Be inspired. Look in the mirror and inspire the shit out of yourself. Go play with some makeup. Look, today I put on some eyeshadow. I haven't put eyeshadow on in a while, but I was up a little early and
Sparkly
I
eyeshadow
up
on today too.
Oh, look at see, I don't have my eyeliner. I left it in Connecticut. My liquid eyeliner, so I put eyeshadow. And you know what? That's it. Play with yourself. Play dress up. It's not a kid's game. That inner child's inside of you. Play with her. Look at the badass put her mask. Play with her. Play with yourself. Madeline, go read or whoever.
Play with yourself privately.
Huh?
I said play with yourself privately if you want to.
But the thing is, get to know every inch of your body. Let yourself dance across your thoughts while you're in the middle of something. You know, when you're driving, invoke a happy childhood memory. You know, evoke everything that is good about you. And then even the ugly part, you're like, oh, I ain't doing that shit again. You know what I mean? Do it, because that's how you get to learn yourself, the good, the bad, the ugly, the brilliance of who you are. Because only you can be you. That's it. And I think we're done, right?
Yes, we
So
are.
thank you all for coming on, staying late, sharing your thoughts. And Desiree's not you know what, we can feel sorry for ourselves. Because if we did something from goodness, like we love somebody who was broken because we think we're fucking Build-A-Bob over here, it's okay. You tried. The thing is, when you realize that there's absolutely nothing you could have done to have changed that moment, and you continue to stay, then that's when you don't feel sorry for yourself. Get angry and acknowledge that you would never allow that to happen. You can't change what happened, but you don't have to do it again. And that's what you do.
Well, thanks everyone for coming on. Today is the last day of October for Viva, and Thursday it'll be November 1st. So bring in the new month, and we got 2 more months left. So let's really just step into our greatness and ride that beautiful wave into 2024, but ride the wave. Don't just sit there and wait for the wave to come in 2024. So thanks for being here today. And from the Badass Buddha, remember, be you, be real, and be extraordinary.
And from the Gladiator Guru, my cousin Diana said everybody calls her loca for this and that. We're both Sagittarius, so we both behave the same. So just be you, everybody. Remember to breathe in the beauty and breathe out the bullshit. Namaste.